Greetings everybody and welcome back to Wolfinia. This is episode 305 of my Minecraft survival series. Last episode we did some work way over there at the House of Leaves. I'm not going to go all the way back there to show you that. You guys were there for last episode. Y'all remember it. We also spent some time over here at WARF where it has now decided to rain. Specifically, we did a little bit of work on our old Guardian farm here. You can see all the items flowing in now getting auto-crafted into actually useful stuff. But we're not done over here at WARF because it has come to the attention of Wolfen's Labs that our kelp farm right here is not fully in sync, which is a problem that we're going to have to fix. As you can see, some of our piston rows are just kind of stuck out there and getting pulled in rather than being pulled in and pushed out, which means the kelp under there can't grow and it can't be harvested. And I think the main reason for that is primarily because all the redstone here is underwater. We made concessions and I think that just kind of didn't work out. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to dry this whole thing out and do, you know, normal dry redstone rather than this nonsense. And at this point, I have pretty much everything I think I'm going to need. I have a pretty good idea of what I want to do, so let's go ahead and do it. At this point, let's go ahead and call the drone on over here to WARF, put on a little bit of music, and get to work. Welcome back, everybody, and at this point, we got our kelp farm now rewired. Everything a bit more dependable, a lot more dependable, I think. You can see we are harvesting without issue now. I did have to deal with some quasi-connectivity issues, but I think we got all that sorted out with the way we got this all set up now. Hopefully, everything is good in here. I will keep an eye on it just to be sure, but I don't foresee any problems, and if there are any, I'm sure Wolfen's Labs will let me know. So you can see the kelp is now flowing through here. We're not actually done with the kelp yet. I think what we're going to do is we're going to follow these lines for a bit and make improvements along them where we can. So the next stop along the Kelp's journey is going to be over here in this little kind of storage area. We're going to keep the raw kelp storage over here in case we need it for landscaping purposes and the like, but I don't think we need to worry about crafting bone meal from the excess anymore, as we get plenty of bone meal from the House of Leaves now. So that means all of this nonsense right here, this can all go. And that should just about do it for that. So we've gotten rid of our bone meal storage area, and we've replaced it with just another way down here into the backstage area. So now we have multiple ways to access this, which makes it much more convenient. But now, since we don't have excess kelp getting converted into bone meal, we will start having more kelp make its way up here into our smelting system, where we make our dried kelp, right? So you can see the dried kelp gets made, it gets sent over here where we are to manually craft it into kelp blocks for fueling these smokers. But now, since we have auto crafters, we could actually probably automate this process and even get up a bit of surplus here to store some excess kelp blocks, which would be nice. So that is the next thing we're going to get into. That means a lot of this stuff is going to get torn out. I'm probably going to go through here and just kind of look at everything, figure out what systems are needed and which ones aren't, and just kind of wing it. And I've gotten a little bit more comfortable with auto crafters now. I think it's something that's absolutely doable. So at this point, why don't we go ahead and call the drone on over here, put on a little bit of music, and get to work. Welcome back, everybody, and at this point we've got our kelp systems fully operational. You can see that as of now the kelp is building up in these smokers. It's gradually filling, but it is still filling. We're getting more into it than not. So I don't know how many of these smokers are actually going to be utilized in this process, but we're going to keep any excess just in case. And we do have ways to dispose of any excess should all of them, be in use and we can't keep up with the kelp. We are prepared for either contingency. So as far as how all this stuff works, you can see our excess kelp getting funneled into these smokers right here, where it is smelted into dried kelp. The dried kelp then goes up this way, and it's going to make its way towards our auto crafter right here. Now the auto crafter, once it gets enough kelp inside it, it is always running. Once enough kelp enters, then it will create a dried kelp block, which you can see right there. That's going to get shot out into fuel our smokers. Now, once our smokers are all fueled and filled, any excess dried kelp blocks are going to get shot out of here, and they're going to follow this path right here over to our storage system, where you might remember we had the barrels downstairs. That's our storage system. Now, in the unlikely scenario that this all gets filled up, we have a disposal system to take care of any excess. Now, in the even more unlikely scenario that we get too much raw kelp coming through here that we can't handle it, we have a way to dispose of that as well. It's very rare that I just take the time to enjoy the view. I mean, it's very rare that anybody takes the time to enjoy the view. As you can see, this place is empty. We got plenty of fishermen here. None of them want to look at the glory of Wolfinia over there, want to kind of just look into the distance at the vast stretches of wilderness beyond, the untamed lands, as it were. I guess that's probably because we all got stuff to do. Now, of course, before we leave WARF today, I do want to go and double check my work, make sure everything's good for Mr. Wolfins. As you can see, we got plenty of dried kelp blocks in here up until this last smoker, really, which means that once this hopper gets filled up, then we should have dried kelp blocks making its way into the storage system. So we'll probably hang out for a little while just to make sure everything's good here. Or, better yet, instead of waiting around here twiddling our thumbs, we could help this process along a little bit. And we're just about there. And we are there. Okay, excellent. So we are now shooting some dried kelp blocks up through the droppers, which means we should start seeing them enter our storage system now that we will be collecting excess dried kelp blocks, which should have been here by now. Clearly, there has been an oversight on someone's part as we are not getting dried kelp blocks into the storage system because someone's locked the hopper. Some fool has locked the hopper. Ridiculous. I mean, that's an obvious no-go. Of course you don't want to lock the hoppers. We have a saboteur in our midst. You know what, I'm going to go through here real quick and just make sure this saboteur hasn't done anything else foolish around here. I think we're okay. And you can see we do have our dried kelp blocks that are now making their way into the storage system like they should be. I am actually going to take a little bit of this with me back to Wolfinia. But everything here seems to be good at this point, so guess it's time to go home. That concludes our work at WARF. For right now, at least, everything is updated. Everything is good. So let's go ahead and report back to the new guy at Wolfin's laboratory, Wolfred. See if he'll put in a good word for us with his dad. Maybe while we're over there, we can check back in on the Reaper. That's something I've been wanting to do. In fact, maybe we'll go ahead and check back in on the Reaper first because I do have some tools in need of mending. And I am curious to see if there are any more adjustments that need to be made because we want the experience made by the Reaper to go towards mending tools and not something, you know, pointless like my levels or anything like that. So, this does not seem to be done yet. We are not finished priming the Reaper as of now, which is a little bit of a disappointment, but it's fine. It is fine. And actually, wait, this one's done because we withdrew from the first two already. So this one is now done. So if we were to withdraw from here, we get a full mend on our pickaxe and a little bit of excess levels, but I actually think that's fine. I'm going to count that as a success. What I will probably want to do now that we know this works is improve the clearing system because I do come back here and I do assist these with getting all that excess green dye out and disposed of. So maybe this process could stand to work a little bit better. Hopefully Wolfred won't mind too much if I take a little bit of time to make some improvements here around the lab.
Look, I'm just saying, when we picked our call signs and I picked Infiltration Master Moraga, carefully thought out, carefully planned, I totally thought I'd be like belly crawling into the beast's intestines. I mean, somebody's intestines. But now I'm just like eyeballing it from across the entire city. Over.
Noted. Are there any developments?
Oh, come on! I can't. Why'd you even hand the pup the cool sneak-in job? You left me here just staring at him tiptoeing through the big bad wolf stuff. It's like you don't even want me to be a master of anything anymore. Over.
What do you mean? Did he not rendezvous with you at the enchantry?
No. He strutted right into this city like he owned the place and marched his happy little tail all the way to the wolf's lair. Oh, now he's getting all cozy inside. Ooh, and it looks like he found something. Over.
Tell me what it is.
It looks like a book. An old book. Oh, no. He's cooked. He wouldn't. He couldn't. But he did, didn't he? That dirty, rotten, no good double-crossing. I'm gonna tear him into itty-bitty pieces!
Hello there. You may or may not be surprised to hear this, but I think there's a saboteur in our midst. And the reason I think that is because I did some work here in the Reaper system that you guys were not privy to because my OBS was not set up to record properly. Now, the saboteur shall remain nameless because we shouldn't blame that guy for, recording something other than Minecraft, right? Anyway, I can show you what we've done here using one of these modules that hasn't really been in use yet. So basically, I put the switch right here to still extend that piston the way it was extended before, but also having it right... That's not the right place. Excuse me. I'm discombobulated at the moment. But having the power block right here activates the piston just like it did before. But in addition to that, it also locks this hopper, which means that while the system is getting evacuated, the green dye is not leaving this furnace. It's not going down through the system to be destroyed with the rest of it. So, overall, that's a better setup, and probably what I should have done from the start. So now when we evacuate one of these modules, the green dye will go along the same path, except for it'll continue a bit further at this point, up through this bubble vader, where it will get destroyed by a cactus just like it did before. But the reason why we've extended the path, and I'm just going to go through the wall here, because I'm tired of wasting time, is because we have a viewing window here now. So this way we can see when green dye is actually being evacuated. So for instance, if we were to let some green dye out of one of these modules, just a little bit, not enough to really affect it too much, we'll see that green dye pass up through the bubble vader. We know the system is being evacuated of green dye still. We shouldn't stop the evacuation process for whatever module is being emptied just yet. And I guess a better way to demonstrate this would just be to actually demonstrate it, right? So we pull out the green dye. That instantly mends up my netherite hoe and my netherite pickaxe. We're all good there. We do need to empty this system out so we can mend up again for next time. So basically, the hopper below this furnace is now locked, which means the green dye will not pass through. The newly smelted green dye won't get evacuated from the system. But the green dye that is evacuated from the system is all going through here, and when we stop seeing green dye here, that's when we can turn this off. Make sense? I hope so. Now, I do feel like that's probably the last thing I really had in my mind that needed to be done or that I wanted to get done. And I think at this point, we can call the Reaper mechanically and functionally complete. But of course, we will come back here at a later date once all this copper has had a chance to weather and just kind of strip it down, wax it up, and make it look how we want it to look. But that is not my concern today. Now, I will let you know that I did already take the time to talk with Wolfred over here at Wolfen's Laboratory, informed him of the improvements done to WARF and to the Reaper, and he's going to be our new contact here moving forward with any projects that need to be done on behalf of Wolfen's Labs. But I do think that's where we're going to go ahead and call it for today, guys. So, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I do hope that you'll stick around for the next one. But as always, I just want to thank you guys for hanging out with me today. I deeply appreciate it. And until next time, I will see you guys later.